Another potential legal issue that I think faces a lot of hemp producers has to do with trespassing. And so the concern for growers, I think, is that people see the plants, they think that they are marijuana plants, and they may trespass to try and steal them on your property. So in Texas, there are sort of two distinct trespass claims that you need to be aware of. The first is a civil claim, and the second is a criminal claim. So civil trespass is essentially a lawsuit between individuals. The landowner files a lawsuit against the trespasser, generally seeking monetary damages. And so the elements that you would have to prove to succeed on a civil trespass claim would be entry onto the property of another without the consent of the owner. So essentially, right, if somebody is coming on your property without your permission, you've got a potential civil trespass claim. In order to recover damages, you would have to be able to prove those damages as well. You don't have to have damages in order to sue for civil trespass, but if you want any monetary relief, you would need those. And practically speaking, you would have monetary damages probably, otherwise you wouldn't go through the trouble of a civil trespass lawsuit. The second option is there could be a criminal trespass claim. Essentially, this would be misdemeanor charges brought by the state against the trespasser. So now we're talking, right, criminal state versus defendant rather than two people suing each other. The elements here are similar. There's one additional element. So you're going to have to show that a person entered the property of another without effective consent of the owner, and the trespasser had noticed that the entry was forbidden. So that notice piece is what's the different element between civil and criminal trespass. And so in the Texas Penal Code, there are 5 ways that a person could give notice that entry is forbidden. In order to claim criminal trespass, right, if you want to try to have someone prosecuted criminally, you would have to show that you have done one of these 5 things. Okay? The first option is you tell them they're not allowed to be on the property, right? So you can do oral or written communication by the owner to the trespasser. Or it can be done by someone with apparent authority from the owner. Like if you had, a ranch foreman hired, they could tell the person. So that's the first option, is you tell them. The second option is if you have fencing or another enclosure obviously designed to exclude intruders or to contain livestock. So in other words, if you've got a fully fenced in area, right, that alone means no trespassing, just the fence being in place. A third option is no trespassing signs, and those are going to be signs posted on the property or at the entrance of a building, reasonably likely to come to the attention of intruders, indicating that entry is forbidden. So if you want to put up no trespassing signs, that can be another way to show no trespass. There's no magic rule on where you put those. I mean, I always, usually if it's land kind of generally, I tell people I'd at least have them on all the gates. So that's just kind of something to think about. It needs to be in an area reasonably likely to come to someone's attention. The next one is the visible presence on the property of a crop grown for human consumption that is under cultivation, in the process of being harvested, or marketable if harvested at the time of entry. Again, I think there's some question as to whether hemp would qualify here. It has to be something that's grown for human consumption. I think that it's probably questionable if hemp would qualify under that one. But it's not that big of a deal. Again, you only have to do any one of these 5 to have that notice requirement met. The fifth option is going to be purple paint. And so if you've seen on fence posts or trees kind of around Texas purple paint, it's not decoration. It actually is a method of giving notice that entry is forbidden. There's some specific requirements in the penal code about this. It's got to be placed on trees or posts. It's got to be a vertical line that's not less than 8 inches long and 1 inch wide. The bottom of the mark has to be 3 to 5 feet from the ground, and it needs to be at readily visible locations to any person approaching the property. If you're on forest land, they have to be no more than 100 feet apart. If you're on other land, they have to be no more than 1,000 feet apart. So again, the key here is if you want to have an option to seek criminal trespass prosecution, you've got to do one of these 5 notice options in order for prosecution to potentially occur. The last issue that I thought I would mention as far as legal goes, because we are dealing with agriculture producers and agriculture issues, it is currently not legal for hemp to be fed to animals. The FDA has not approved hemp as an animal or pet food additive. And before it would be legal, approval by the FDA Association of American Feed Control Officials would have to be required. So again, at least at this point in time, that approval has not been given, and it would be illegal as a pet food additive or as a feed additive for animals. So kind of in conclusion, there are a number of potential legal issues that could arise related to hemp. We've hit just on a couple of the main ones today. Hopefully, again, it just gives you kind of an overview of what to think about. It's important to take time and investigate to learn about these issues and their potential defenses.